guy named Tommy sent me a text and said, Matt, it's going to be about time for you to admit the offensive line is going to be a problem for this team. Weston Davis running laps because they can't stay on sides. Sad. Several other offensive breakdowns due to offensive line play. Skilled offensive players being able to pull out the big play is no way to run an offense. Hope the next 2 days without media availability prove to be the hardest of camp. Hope to see improvement by the weekend from Tommy. I replied to Tommy, said, hey, Tommy, Weston Davis hasn't been jumping off sides much. He did it one time the other day in the goal line drill. They replaced him with Ori Williams. Carius Kern's the one that's been having a problem, and he's a true freshman who's probably not going to play a ton. If you have to rely on Carius Kern, it's probably a problem. And to his point about skilled players breaking out the big plays, not a way to run an offense, partly agree with you, except for the fact that Joe Sloan repeatedly in his press conference and press availability last week talked about explosives and the explosive plays, and it's just very clear that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to work explosive plays into their offense. Now, I am not dismissing the concern about the offensive line. It is justified. You had do a blind survey here, a blind resume. And if I told you, hey, there's a team that's losing 4 starters on their offensive line. All 4 of them just went to the NFL draft. One of them was taken 4th overall. You're probably going to assume that line is not going to be as good the next year with all that you lost. That's a right assumption. I'm right there with you. It's why I kind of am vacillating a bit on this group. But I also look at the offense from last year, and they were 107th in the country in rush offense. This group a year ago was outstanding at pass protection. They allowed the 10th fewest sacks in the country. Say that again. Last year, 2024, LSU allowed the 10th fewest sacks in America. Only 9 schools allowed fewer sacks. And let's be honest, 3 of them are the service academies because they don't throw the ball. So among teams that actually try to run an offense and throw the ball, LSU is really good at protecting their passer. They really struggled to run the ball because they didn't have the explosives. They didn't have to respect LSU's ability to beat you deep, and so safeties crowded the box, and that made it challenging. And you didn't have Jaden Daniels, who could erase a lot of those issues because he was just magnificent. And my goodness, he was... I mean, he makes NFL defenses look slow and silly. We saw what he did in college. He was just out. He was sensational, and you don't have that element with Garrett Nussmeier. So I'm not at a point where I'm going to tell you this offensive line is going to be atrocious because I don't think that's the case. I asked Joe Sloan on Friday to assess his offensive line, and I intentionally left it open-ended. It wasn't a leading question. Joe, how concerned are you about ... Joe, would you how important is it to have, like, all those are leading questions. Just an open-ended question. Give me an assessment of the offensive line and listen to how he laid it out for you.
Obviously, we have a lot of competition at guard, and I think you're seeing flashes of different guys daily who are playing really well. I think our tackles, the 2 guys coming into spring, where those 2 guys are going to be first-year starters, and I think definitely when you watch, they have been excellent. Excellent in terms of their growth, right? They got to keep coming, they got to get better every day, but I've been really pleased with what they've done. And I think Braylen's played extremely good at center, and I think we have a couple other guys who could, we have some depth at center, which is nice.
We'll get right back to the video, but thrilled to welcome Our Lady of the Lake to AFR LSU. As the championship health partner of LSU athletics, the physicians at Our Lady of the Lake serve the champions on the field in the purple and gold, but that same level of care is available to you and your family. I've been a proud supporter of Our Lady of the Lake my entire life, from volunteering at the Ronald McDonald Playroom as a high schooler to helping so many of the fundraising efforts for the standalone Children's Hospital, to my own son being a patient now at that very Children's Hospital, and my primary care physician, Dr. Kurt Chastain, at Our Lady of the Lake Men's Health Group. Our Lady of the Lake has been a part of my medical journey my entire life. You can learn more as well. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar. He said, Braylen's been outstanding at center. The tackles have been excellent. And they say excellent in terms of ... because you try to clarify. But he said the tackles have been excellent. Tyree Adams, Weston Davis. He said Braylen Moore's been outstanding, which he has been. He started by saying we have good competition at the guards. That's your answer. Your center has been awesome. Like, I don't worry about Braylen Moore. He started 24 games in college at Virginia Tech, and you go out there and watch him. I don't think he's had an errant snap yet. Whenever they do the pass rush drills, he is a brick wall. He is so good at establishing his base, getting his hands up. Like, he is excellent in pass protection. The tackles have been really good. You heard him say there. You're set there with Adams and Davis. The question is the guards. And I even told you this yesterday. DJ Chester, who's been your first-team left guard, Cohen Eccles replaced him yesterday in the team periods as first-team left guard. Now, I was not at practice today, but some people who were kind of maybe relayed to me that Chester was back running first team at left guard. And we'll see as we get more updates how that goes and what they ultimately do. But I think that's definitely a concern, is how you play at guard, no doubt. But I think it's also so important to remember how they're trying to piece together this offense this year. And I don't know that you're going to look at this in terms of what we think of a traditional run game, where you have these maulers on the offensive line with a fullback and a power. Like, it's not going to be that. Like, Joe Sloan was asked in that same press conference about the progress they've made in the running game. Give a listen.
We got to run the football, right? You got to run the football in the SEC. And I think we've looked at some scheme things. We've looked at some personnel things, right? It's a combination. You know, I think having Caden Durham as a second-year player, obviously he's an electric player and a really good football player, but he still was a true freshman last year that came in June, right? He's a lot better football player today than he was at this time last year. And I think, right, Garrett's understanding of how he can help. And then there's some schematic things where we're going to be able to put some guys in positions to make sure we can create some more explosives in the run game. And I think that's the key, right, is creating explosives in the run game.
Your offensive coordinator. So to the point that Tommy sent in his text saying, I'll read you the text again from the listener Tommy, who said, skilled offensive players being able to pull out the big play is no way to run an offense. But understand, Tommy, we're just watching tidbits of practice. If that's what they're like, we don't know what maybe they're trying to set up a defense to be able to hit the big play. Maybe that, and Joe Sloan continues to tell you that's what they're trying to work into the explosive. And he just told you personnel and scheme. Well, personnel is pretty obvious. Personnel is obvious. Caden Durham's a year older. Caleb Jackson's in better shape. You've got Juwan Johnson back there now as well. Harlem Berry's a 5-star coming in. And then the other thing he said is scheme. Like, the very first play of the team period that we got to watch on Tuesday, Xavion Thomas took the first carry from the running back spot. So you could take a receiver, motion him into the backfield, and hand the ball off to him as a running back. We've seen Juwan Johnson line up as a running back and also as a Wildcat quarterback. In that same period, we saw Juwan Johnson line up as the quarterback, and they direct snapped to Caleb Jackson. Now, Caleb Jackson fumbled it, and Mansour Delane scooped and scored 80 yards. Not exactly what you want to see. But the point is, they're even showing us personnel and scheme. They've got, you heard what Joe said it, like, we've got to run. Can you play just the very beginning of that again? I believe it was just like he said, we've got to run the ball better. We got to run the football, right? You got to run the football. That's it. We got to run the football. They were 107th in the country a year ago. And so be it personnel or scheme, they're going to do it this year. And it's not all going to be on the offensive line lining up and just power eye running over people. It's going to look different. I keep telling you this. It's going to be jet sweeps. It's going to be Xavier Thomas motioning in the backfield. It's going to be direct snaps to Caden Durham or Harlem Berry or Juwan Johnson. Like, it's going to be different. Like, Nuss is going to have opportunities to run. I'm not telling you Nuss is running for 500 yards, but he ain't running for negative 38 again. I'll guarantee you that much. So it's very intentional. They understand they have to be better there. And I think a lot of that creativity, hopefully anyway, early, can mask some of the continuity that they have to put together on the offensive line. Again, I'm not I'm not sitting here dismissing the questions about the offensive line. It is everyone's biggest question, and rightfully so. You're replacing 4 NFL players that combined for 170 career games played. I am not dismissing those questions or concerns. I'm just telling you what I have seen. Braylen Moore is very good at center. He's played a ton. They are confident in their tackles, who are very athletic young players. Weston Davis was a 5-star. He should be good enough to play. You brought in Josh Thompson, who's a 2-year starter at Northwestern. And DJ Chester started 13 games for you. Now he's in his more natural position. You've got talented enough guys that have to come together and play as one. And while they try to figure that out and learn to play together, I think scheme and personnel are things that could overcome it. At least that's the hope as they begin this season. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.